Hello students, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jagdeep. In this video series, we are learning about market structures. In our previous video, we talked about how a perfectly competitive market becomes a price taker and how it accepts the price determined by the market. In this video, we will take a look at how a perfectly competitive market would earn supernormal profits. So without wasting any time further, let's get started. So before we go into the technicalities of supernormal profits and the representation of same in the diagram, let's take a look at a few features of a perfectly competitive market. So a perfectly competitive market, for those who are not aware about, you could take a look at the features of perfect competition. The video would be linked somewhere in the I button. Some of the features are as follows. So a perfectly competitive market would have a horizontal average revenue curve because the price that prevails in the market is constant. Since they are price takers, they do not make changes to the price determined by the price mechanism. So whatever price is determined by the forces of demand and supply, all the firms in a perfectly competitive market would sell each and every unit produced by them at that particular price. Supernormal profits are studied from the short-run perspective. More shall be looked at later. The conditions for maximizing profit are as follows. The first condition is MC should be equal to MR, and the second condition says that MC should cut MR from below. How does that look like on a diagram? We'll take a look at in a while. Now, what is profit? So profit is basically the reward that an entrepreneur would get for all the headache that he takes of arranging the factors of production and running the entire show. So profit is his reward. Like all other factors would get, land earns rent, labor earns wages, capital earns interest. Likewise, an entrepreneur or enterprise earns profit. Now, profit in economics is ideally studied under two time frames. One is the short-run time frame and one is the long-run time frame. Under the short-run time frame, now a perfectly competitive market or a firm under a perfectly competitive market would earn a supernormal profit or abnormal profits. What does this mean? So supernormal profits are earned when the firms have more revenue than their cost. That means there's an excess of total revenue over total cost. That is what a supernormal profit would look like. Normal profits, on the other hand, would happen when total revenue are exactly equal to the total cost. We are going to take a look at supernormal profits in this video. Normal profits are something we'll take a look at in another video. Students, if you're struggling with this topic, consider joining one of my online tutoring sessions where I can explore this topic with you in depth. I'm currently helping students from multiple countries like UAE and Singapore. I invite you to contact me directly at the number displayed on your screen. Do not miss out on a 30-minute complimentary session. Let's take a look at the diagrammatic representation of supernormal profit. So this is how the diagram should look like initially. So we have price and costs on the y-axis, output on the x-axis, and as I've mentioned earlier, the AR-MR curve under a perfectly competitive market is a horizontal line indicating that the price is constant. Alright, so let me just mark it as P. Now, if we take a look at the profit maximizing situation, it said MC should be equal to MR and MC should cut MR from below. So this is how the MC curve should look like. This is marginal cost, and marginal cost is intersecting MR curve over here. So at this point, let me call it as E. MR is equal to MC, and this here becomes the quantity at profit maximization. Let me label it as Q. Now, to identify whether the firm is making supernormal profits or normal profits, we need to have average cost in the frame as well. Let's draw the average cost curve. So let us say this is the average cost curve. Now in this particular diagram, the average cost curve is intersecting this perpendicular EQ at this particular point. So from here, we'll draw another perpendicular touching the y-axis to get total cost. Let us say this is another perpendicular. Let me give it a different name. Let me name it as S and T. Okay, now how do we identify in this diagram whether the firm is making supernormal profit or normal profits? So if we take a look at this entire block over here, from S, T, Q and O. This is O, let me write it down. This is O, which is origin. So this entire zone, this entire rectangle or square, if it looks like a square, this represents the total cost. Alright. So let me just write it down somewhere. I'll just scroll up a little bit and let me just jot it down. So total cost is equal to S, T, Q and O. So this entire area, this entire block is now considered as total cost. Why do we call it as total cost? A lot of students get confused over here because ideally it's the average cost curve which is intersecting this segment EQ. So why do we call it as total cost? So we need to remember the formulas. So average cost is calculated as total cost over quantity, correct? And if we are supposed to find total cost with average cost and quantity in picture, it would be basically average cost times quantity. That will give you your total cost. So this is the average cost over here, this much, and this is the quantity for profit maximization. So ideally this whole block is your total cost. Clear? Now likewise, what is the total revenue? So total revenue is equal to this block, which is O, P, E, Q. Why are we calling it as total revenue? Because this is where the commodities are priced and this is the total quantity sold by this firm. And total revenue is calculated as price times quantity. So that is equal to P, E, Q and O. Now when we take a look at the total cost and total revenue, we are able to find out that this is the difference between the total cost and total revenue. Let me highlight it. So this highlighted zone is the difference between total cost and total revenue. That's what a supernormal profit is. It's the difference between total revenue and total cost. I'll jot it down over here. So supernormal profit is equal to total revenue minus total cost. In this case, total revenue was P, E, Q and O, and total cost was this thing. So I'll just write that down. It's S, T, Q and O. So supernormal profit is equivalent to this segment, which is P, E, T and S. Correct? So this is your supernormal profit. This is the first way to identify supernormal profit. One easier way to identify supernormal profit is to see where is your average cost curve placed, whether it is below the marginal revenue curve or tangent to the curve or above the curve. In case of supernormal profits, would be placed below the marginal revenue curve at the profit maximizing output level. Okay, so this is an easier way to identify whether the firm in a perfectly competitive market is earning supernormal profits or normal profits or is incurring a loss. Students, if you found this video helpful, I invite you to show your support by using the super thanks button below. Your contributions are incredibly important as they empower me to keep delivering high quality free content that benefits students like you. Remember, every bit counts. Also, if you find learning through long videos daunting, you could also follow me over my Instagram channel. The next video shall focus upon losses in a perfectly competitive market. I shall see you in another video. Until then, bye now. Take care.